After their recent hot stretch in the Big 12, Texas Tech has officially entered the AP Top 25 poll. Today's video, we'll discuss where they rank as they head into a difficult stretch in the Big 12 as look at some of the major metric sites and where the Red Raiders rank. Hint, it's very high. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell to stay in the know on all things Texas Tech men's basketball all year long. Whether it's happening on the hardwood, in the portal, or anything in between, we've got you covered right here. And the best part about it, it's 100% free and very interactive. And speaking of interactive, I want your one word to describe the Red Raiders being ranked as the 22nd best team in the country, according to the latest AP Top 25 poll. Just one word, let me know on the pinned comment down below. All right, let's look at the AP poll, because this is one of those things where if you look at it, right, it's really interesting to go off of. And as I get the screen right here for you guys and get this ad off that popped up, the Red Raiders come in at 22. That's interesting, right? Very interesting to see who's 23, but we won't go there. Red Raiders come in at 15-4 on the year. Really, you look at all of their losses, they have been close, most notably the one against Iowa State. But Texas Tech is starting to hit their stride a little bit, even after that, piss poor, I don't know, that might be a little too strong, showing against Oklahoma State. Felt like it was a trap game. I still think the TCU game is more of a trap game for the Red Raiders coming up. But you see some of the teams that are around them, UConn, the defending national champions, I don't know how they're still ranked in the top 25. Vanderbilt, one of the really darlings of the SEC in terms of nobody seeing them coming this year, they're in the top 25. You got Ole Miss. We know why that's a little funny to Texas Tech fans. Louisville. Then you've got Missouri, Memphis, and Illinois. Now, it's really interesting from the standpoint of this as I get back on the screen here. Does the AP Top 25 poll matter? My argument would be no. I don't think the committee really takes it heavy into effect, and you're asking a lot from them to dictate things in the sense of not the committee, but a bunch of AP writers that don't watch all college basketball. Some of these guys just vote because they have blue bloods. In terms of the syndrome, and they're just like, it's a blue blood, let's just put them near the top. Texas Tech obviously doesn't fit that criteria, but the Red Raiders have been one of the best teams in the country for really the whole month of January, right? You think about how their January, almost January started, December 31st to be exact. They lose at home to UCF. Not a good loss. Just call a spade, it wasn't. But in January, they have been damn near perfect, with the only loss coming by 1 point in overtime to a top 5 team in the country and arguably the best team in the Big 12, not named Houston, in the Iowa State Cyclones. So you think about it from that perspective, and it kind of aligns with what the metrics in terms of what the committee looks at and what is influenced in some of these high-level metrics are saying. So let's take a look at the net now. This one's super interesting to me in the sheer standpoint of this is one of those things that the committee looks at a high level. And you can see it right there through games, January 26th. You're listening to this on Monday, January 27th. But Texas Tech is the 11th best team in the country, according to the key metric that the committee looks at. Now, is this the end-all, be-all type scenario? Absolutely not. But it's a heavily weighted factor, and this is, again, something that they have created to help the committee. You look at Texas Tech, they have 3 quad 1 wins, 2 quad 2 wins as well, right? Their resume isn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but they really don't have a bad loss when you look at it at this current moment, right? Like a quad 2 loss, yes, you wish you wouldn't have lost to St. Joe's, but in terms of the metrics, it's not all that bad, but it's not great either, if that makes sense. But you go on and you look at KenPom. This is another one where the committee doesn't look at it, but it's one of the most highly regarded metric systems in all of college basketball. They mess around and, look, they have the same as the net ranking there. The Red Raiders come in at 11th, but there is multiple Big 12 schools ahead of them, including Houston, Iowa State, and then Kansas, who just, I don't even know how you lose that game on your home floor. Did the Jayhawks. I really don't know how they did that, but hey, good for them, I guess. Good for Houston, I should say. Texas Tech is 11th there on KenPom. Then you go over and you look at, well, where is Texas Tech in terms of Bart Torvik? And he's a guy that is highly well respected in his projections as well. The Red Raiders are all the way down at 20th, which, okay, that's fair. I get it in a lot of regards. In that way, he has Texas Tech winning 11 conference games, which is super interesting from that standpoint. But he is the lowest when it comes to where Texas Tech is ranked in terms of these high quality metrics out there. Now, we move on to another one where it's the basketball power index. And this is one that it's probably more used than it should be, but I digress. Don't get me down that rabbit hole. Okay. You got Texas Tech at 15th. More than fair, in my opinion, in this regard. I think Texas Tech is in that range where in terms of between 10 and 20, and you could probably put them closer to 20th than 10. And I'd probably agree with you, right? You look at everything that they've done in terms of the power index, and Texas Tech, as I mentioned, comes in at 15th. You look at the teams ahead of them in the Big 12, obviously Houston at number 1. You've then got Iowa State, the team you lost by 1-2 on your home floor, as the 4th best team. Kansas at 7. Arizona, a team you beat by 16, is somehow nearly 8 points ahead of you in terms of the rankings. They're at 8. And then you have Baylor at 13, with Texas Tech rounding out the top 15 in terms of the Big 12 members involved at 15. Now, one of the more highly respected guys in the industry that I don't think a lot of people talk about, but he has really, really good stuff on his website, is Evan Miya. So we're going to transition over to his site now. And this is where, if you're just an analytical nerd when it comes to college basketball like me, this is heaven. Okay, this is a heavenly type place, in my opinion. And as you can see, Texas Tech is ranked as the 9th best team in the country, according to Evan Miya. They have one of the best offenses in the country, do the Red Raiders, with a 15.80 rank, a solid defense, nothing special at 10.1. But overall, you get a 25.9 relative rating, which ranks the Red Raiders as a top 10 team in the country. Do I think this is a little high? Yeah, honestly, yes. I think the Red Raiders, as I mentioned, are anywhere between 10 and 20 in terms of teams in the country, and probably closer to 20 than they are 10. Nothing wrong with that. Still a ton of time to increase their resume and make sure they solidify themselves on that 4 line, which I do think that that's where they end up with the opportunities that they have and how talented this team is. Now, there is another metric site that I look at as well, and I feel like I am nerding out in this video. If you appreciate that, be sure to like the video and hit that subscribe button. We're going to head on over to Haslametrics, and you can see that the Red Raiders are ranked highly here as well, with the 14th best rating on Haslametrics, behind Arizona. Again, I don't fully comprehend that, but a resume is a resume. You got to do what you got to do in its entirety. Houston is at number 1. You got Iowa State and Kansas. Then you've got Arizona and Texas Tech. So Texas Tech is the 5th best team in the Big 12, according to his metrics, but the 14th best team in the country. Overall, as I get back on the screen here, the Red Raiders are really good, okay? Obviously, the biggest thing for Texas Tech right now is to continue their winning ways. They need to win this game against TCU on Wednesday to go into February at 7-2 in the Big 12 and give them a little bit more wiggle room in terms of room for error, because that trifecta of games that you play to open up February is grueling. It's nasty type stuff. On February 1st, next Saturday, or I guess this coming up Saturday, actually, you head down to Houston. Not ideal. Then you head back home next week to face off against Baylor for a midweek game out in the 806. And then you head out to Tucson to face off against an Arizona team that's most likely wanting some revenge after you kick their you-know-what in the final 5 minutes of that game out in the 806 to win by 16. Again, Texas Tech is really good. The biggest priority for the Red Raiders right now is to get healthy, right? You think about it from the deep 5 perspective. He rolled his ankle yet again, but you're headed in the right direction as a collective unit from a health perspective. Now, do you need to clean some things up after that Oklahoma State game? Absolutely. Specifically on the offensive end. I thought on the defensive end, you actually played pretty well and created quite a few turnovers. But offensively, you got to get better consistently on the physicality aspect of it, specifically out on the perimeter, where Oklahoma State just flat out bullied you in the second half in terms of physicality and making sure that you could not run the pick and roll offense that Grant McCasland and crew desire to run there. So there's a lot of things that they need to adjust, but just like every college basketball team out there, maybe not named Auburn when they're healthy, you have multiple flaws, Okay. Yeah, plenty of time to get back on track in terms of really potentially reaching your ceiling. But Texas Tech is well on their way to reaching their ceiling because, in my estimation, again, I think they're going to end up with a 4 seed because I think that this team is far too talented. And at worst, I think they end up with a 5. But every opportunity in front of them to be higher. And this team is super talented. They shoot the lights out, and they're starting to figure it out on the defensive end, specifically playing Fetty and JT Toppin at the same time. But overall, again, the big news for Texas Tech on Monday, January 27th, is that the Red Raiders have officially entered the AP Top 25 poll for the first time this season, ranking as the number 22 team in the country. Now, as I mentioned, every other metric that we just went over, and there was, 6 of them, have the Red Raiders higher than 22nd. But again, let me know your one-word reaction to Texas Tech entering the AP Top 25 poll and being ranked number 22 in the country. Just one word. It'll be down on the pinned comment below. And hey, if you want to stay in the know on everything Texas Tech men's basketball, 100% free all year long with literally just 100% authentic takes. I'll tell you when I'm right. I'll tell you when I'm wrong. But it's going to be a fun environment. And if you want to be a part of the largest group of Texas Tech fans on YouTube, again, 3 simple steps. Like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell to join the Back to 12 squad today.